You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I am Kirk Mona, and I am joined today by Rachel Ginza and Victoria Thompson. We are all professional naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Welcome back, everyone. Oh my goodness. We have a guest with us this week.
Yeah, we got another guest.
Oh, it's so exciting. I love having guests. This week we have Marika. Do you want to introduce yourself and say hi, Marika?
Yeah. Hi, Marika. I'm Marika Bell. I'm from the podcast, The Deal with Animals. It's an anthrozoology podcast, which is anthrozoology is the connection between humans and other animals. So it's sort of a science-based podcast. I interview a lot of academics, but I also really like to interview professionals and enthusiasts and really get a variety of voices and perspectives. So it's not super science heavy, but it can be on certain episodes. So it's I've got a background in dog training too. So I do get a lot of dog trainers on, which is always kind of fun for me because I get to talk about, the thing that I already know about, but all of my other guests pretty much are bringing things that I have no idea about, and it's really fun to learn. So it's really fun. I hope people can join me on that podcast too sometime.
Yeah,
Excellent.
definitely go
Very
check it out.
Yeah, we always love learning new things. I mean, that's why we're here.
That is why we're here.
That's one of the reasons why we're here. Yeah.
Yeah, Rachel, I think it's your turn to kick things off this week. What do you got for us?
It is. So on the show, we've talked about invasive species before. Truly invasive species are just organisms that happen to be very good at what they do and what they are in a space that hasn't evolved with that organism, where there's usually checks and balances in the ecosystem to make sure that one doesn't take over. So
that's a very nice definition, Rachel.
Thank you. I thought really hard about it because I have a lot of feelings about invasive species, as I think we've heard from my buckthorn episode. But I mean, it is true. Like, they just are plants that are really good at what they do, and they're just growing in places we don't want them to grow, and we brought them in, and now they're taking over and having negative impacts a lot of the time. Anyway,
they're often some of the most amazing plants out there.
Oh, exactly. So let's talk about one of the most invasive plants in the world, shall we?
Oh, we shall.
Yeah.
So this plant was brought over to North America in the 1800s for decorative purposes, of course. It's a very pretty perennial. It has like really nice leaves and flowers and things, and it was used as a privacy shrub because it grows really dense thickets. Originally, it was found in Japan, Korea, and Taiwan. And China. And it can grow exceptionally quick, which we'll talk about. So today I'm talking about...
I think I see where this is going.
Yeah? You want to guess? Go for it.
I don't know. Do we get to I would love to try to guess. I have two thoughts though, but I want to hear more hints first.
Oh, I was just going to say what it was. So if you have a guess,
she was gonna
go
say
for
the
it.
name,
okay.
So.
Is it the blackberry bush?
Ooh, it is not.
Oh.
I was thinking kudzu.
It is not.
Okay.
But close.
Okay, so...
But that's not really a bush. It's more of a vine. So
knotweed. That's my second guess is knotweed.
That's a good guess too.
Today, I'm talking about Rhinotria japonica, or Japanese knotweed.
Yes.
Yeah, there it is.
I get it.
The Japan clue. There it was.
Yep. So this plant is wild. Like, clearly you've heard of this, Marika, and so have you, Kirk. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. I really
But
hadn't
I'm guessing a
heard
lot
much
of our
about it.
listeners haven't. So
Yeah, I really hadn't until I actually heard about it from the Black Forager, who does a lot of really cool foraging tips and things like that, and she talked about this plant at one point. It was really cool. Hint for later. So this plant is wild. It is quite literally under the World Conservation Society. It is listed as one of the most invasive species in the world. It's found just about everywhere except for Antarctica. Wow. On every continent.
Give it time.
Right? So overall, it looks similar to bamboo in a way. It has these hollow stems that have those distinctive nodes that bamboo has.
Sure.
But they're not related to bamboo really at all. So,
they're pretty, actually.
They're
you can
really
see
pretty.
Why people wanted to bring them over. Yeah.
Exactly. Leaf and stem wise, it looks and has been mistaken a lot for dogwood and lilac. It has that heart-shaped, simple broadleaf. It has these really pretty, white, thin flowers in the early summer and spring that are just they are really, really pretty, which I understand why you would want that as a shrub between your house and your neighbors. I get it. I don't approve, but I get it. But truly, we're not here to learn the identification and everything about this plant. We want the weird stuff, right? So
we can look up what
stuff.
it looks like online if you don't know. Give me the weirds.
Exactly. I'll have pictures of it on our Facebook and socials and things. So this plant is perennial. It will grow up and die back every single year.
Okay.
This plant can grow 10 to 13 feet or 3 to 4 meters every growing season.
I have a great story about this one later, by the way.
Oh, okay, good. The joys of the boreal forest.
Yeah.
Right? Beautiful. So this plant, I'll just restart.
Yep.
So this plant can grow 10 to 13 feet or 3 to 4 meters each growing season, which I think is insane. That's a large amount. That's at least 2 Rachels. That's very quick.
Yes, 2 Rachels.
Oh, man. And it's in a dense thicket. That means that its growth rate is 8 inches per day in height.
What?
Yeah.
8 inches a day?
8 inches a day.
Work. If it's going 8 inches a day, I mean, it must get to its height and then stop. It's not growing throughout the whole growing season then.
Right.
Okay.
It gets to a certain
8
height.
inches a day for a whole growing season, it's going to be the tallest of the Empire State Building.
Right. No, it does reach a max height.
Okay.
But still,
that makes
when
sense.
it
Most
grows, it grows up to 8 inches in height per day, which I thought was I'm
That's
sorry.
Astounding.
You could probably sit and watch this plant actually grow.
Yeah.
In real time.
Amazing.
I mean, if that's what you want to do in your free time, that is, weird.
I mean, there's worse ways to spend your time.
Watching paint dry. Yeah. So this is a really hardy plant, as is, it's an invasive species for the most part. So, except in its native range. So, obviously, it has some really hardy conditions. So, Japanese knotweed can survive drought. It can survive high salinity, erosion. It actually thrives in disturbed soils and can actually survive a variety of pH levels and different types of soil. The roots, which are also crazy, are rhizomous, which means that it can sprout up from just the roots. But the roots themselves can survive they would be able to survive up here, where I am currently, because they can survive temps of negative 31 degrees Fahrenheit.
Ooh.
Or
That's chilly.
that's real cold. Or negative
real cold.
35 degrees Celsius. But what blew my mind is that horizontally, the roots can grow out 23 to 65 feet, which is 7 to 20 meters. That's just horizontal.
That's, again, in one growing season, right?
Wow.
No, not in one growing season.
Oh.
Just in general.
They're saying in one
Just in
growing
general.
season. I'm like, what?
No,
This is in
not
general.
just,
Okay,
This
so
is in
over-
general because the roots
over
stay
many
okay
seasons.
over many seasons. Yeah,
Okay.
And
All
then
right,
they-
well, that's a little better, but still, holy
That's-
cow.
But what
that's
that means is you could chop
Big
it
Mac.
down, right? And then
Yeah.
and think you got rid of it, and then it's
Oh, it'll
still
come
under
right
there,
back.
way further
It
away than
sprouts
from
up-
the main
it
plant
sprouts
than
up
you
60
thought.
feet later. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good at like respreading from the roots. It's terrible about it. That's a main thing that it does. But it also, most plants that I've found is if they grow out really wide, if they grow horizontally really wide, they don't tend to go very deep. Because they're putting a lot of
Oh,
their
interesting.
energy out.
Okay.
That's what I've found, at least with plants. Like they tend to do that. This one doesn't do that. It can grow about 10 feet or 3 meters down into the soil, which of course makes removal extremely hard.
How do you, yeah.
Very
you
hard,
can't dig
yeah.
it 10 feet out. Yeah.
No, and if you miss one little root, one little rhizome, it will sprout right back up. Like
Oh, man.
no
That's
problem.
brutal.
Yeah. So, and this root system is so strong that if it finds any sort of like crack or weakness in any like concrete foundation or a building or a road or retaining wall, it is actually damaged and like it has like grown into houses before. Like this plant is insane.
Oh yeah, I've seen photos. It's wild. Like growing right through asphalt, right through concrete, like just busting its way through.
It like any sort of weakness, it will find its way and just go at it, which is
It's a
wild to
crinoid.
me. It does what it wants. So what can we do, right? So there's the physically pulling the young shoots, and you can smother it and you can cut it back and treat the root system so that way it doesn't resprout. And that's what a lot of people are doing, including the National Park Service. But you can also take the young shoots and you can actually eat them. So you can harvest
Them,
the
yeah,
young.
I thought that's where you're going.
Yeah. So the young
I did not know
shoots
that.
are apparently similar to rhubarb in taste, and you can prepare them. They're pretty sour, but if you like prepare them similarly to rhubarb and you consistently harvest and eat young shoots, it prevents over a few years, it'll actually prevent new growth from coming back. And you get a fun, tasty snack. So there is that.
So basically, like a strawberry knotweed pie.
Exactly.
Yum.
I'll give it a shot.
I really want
Yeah.
to try it now.
Although I hope to not run into any knotweed anywhere near me. But
Right. So that's what I have for you all this week. My sources were the National Park Service, Wikipedia, and several different states' DNR pages. Yeah.
there's a lot of state DNRs that are real keen on educating the public about the horrors of knotweed.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you, Rachel.
Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have Marika.
Strange by Nature podcast is brought to you by listeners like you who have joined the Society of Strange, our membership group on over at patreon.com/strangebynature. Society of Strange members can join at one of 3 different membership levels and help support the show and also get some fun stuff like water bottle stickers or access to super secret content. So a thank you to those who have joined already to help make this podcast possible. If you haven't joined yet, we'll see you soon over at the Society of Strange at patreon.com/strangebynature. See you soon.
Okay, we're back from our break, and now it's my turn. So I
Yay.
want to astound you all, yes, with what I've learned from a recent book I've been reading called An Immense World by Ed Yong. Is this one that you guys have heard about yet?
I know Ed Yong, but I'm not familiar with his with this particular book.
Okay, so it just recently came out. Chapter 2 and 3 is kind of what I'm going to be focusing on here because it just blew my mind. And if you haven't read the book yet, I mean, the whole thing is mind blowing. Like almost every sentence, I'm just like, what are you kidding me? So this is what I want to focus on: eyes and how eyes perceive color.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start with a question that Yang brings up in the book, which is, why do giant squids have huge eyeballs? Right? They have like the biggest eyeballs in the entire world, especially for their size. They're like the size of soccer balls, except that most animals who live in the water are monochromats, which means they see in black and white. They don't see color. You don't need color vision underwater. It's just not necessary. So most animals underwater have not evolved color vision. So they're monochromats. They don't see color, which is interesting in and of itself that squids and other cephalopods don't see color because, I mean, the cuttlefish is known for being like, right, this crazy
wild
ability to blend into anything and match any colors and match any textures, but it cannot see color itself.
Wow.
Which is
wild. Yeah, that in and of itself is kind of crazy. So if giant squids, first of all, they don't see color and they live so far down in the ocean, right, that there's pretty much no light at all. So why even have these giant eyeballs if you're not going to see color? You don't have great vision. You just see black and white, except there's almost no white because of the reflection. What you are seeing is bioluminescence when it happens, because a lot of the animals down there are bioluminescent, right? But they don't need it to find their prey. They don't use their eyeballs to find their prey. What they're actually using their eyeballs for. Okay, so who knows what eats giant squid?
Sperm whale.
Sperm whales?
Sperm whale, right. So sperm whale will dive down, but the squid wouldn't be able to see the sperm whale because it's a dark sperm whale. And the thing about, the ocean is that it's black and the sperm whale is, right.
It's great camouflage.
Right. So how do they possibly get away from the sperm whale? What they're actually doing is they're watching for the bioluminescent shadow of the whale as it comes through all the bioluminescent animals and sets them off. It can actually see, it can see the whale coming from a great distance with its huge eyeballs because it's seeing the reflection off of the bioluminescent animals. It needs huge eyeballs to see that whale coming. And because it's the only thing that the whales really eat, none of the other animals down there have giant eyeballs. In fact, most of them are blind.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah, kind of amazing. Giant squids and huge eyeballs. Okay, so monochromats have this, some of them still have amazing vision, even if they can't see color. I think as humans, sometimes we kind of think that, we have to see color in order to have this amazing cool experience with color, and color is this sort of magical thing. But actually a lot of animals don't see that much color. A lot of animals we used to think actually that were monochromats do actually see some color though. So dogs, fairly recently it has been revealed that dogs actually are basically blue-green colorblind. So they see yellow and blue and sort of shades of gray and sort of violet colors-ish sort of thing.
Cool.
So if you want to get your dog a cool toy, you get them either a blue toy or a yellow toy, something they can really see that'll really stand out for them. But if you get them something red, it's just going to look like a muddy, So that's kind of a nice little thing to know.
I was amazed at all the red dog toys. Red is like the biggest dog toy color. And it's like, they can't.
They can't see
that.
They're not enjoying that color. Yeah.
That's for the humans. They're the ones.
Yeah, that's for the humans. Yeah. So humans are what's called trichromats. So we have 3 cone cells and we get to see red, right? And we get to see yellow and we see blue. And then if you kind of think of that as a triangle, we see red, yellow, and blue, and then everything that those colors mix with, right? So that makes our rainbow, our color spectrum.
Like your primary and your secondary colors.
Yeah. So the blue cone, though, which is one of our photoreceptors, the blue cone is a cell that has all the photoreceptors in it that sends that information to our brain. So we perceive the color, even if the color doesn't truly exist. Does that make sense? Like our brains are what's creating the color in our head, but we don't actually see the color itself. It's just something our brain is coming up with. But we're seeing the wavelengths of light.
Wavelengths of light,
right?
Yeah.
Right. So there's a wavelength that got light that is a UV wavelength, and that is actually a photoreceptor on the blue cone. We should technically be able to see it, except we can't, because we have lenses that let us have very, very good vision, typically, unless you're like most of us that need glasses. But we still have lenses, and that filters out the UV light. So we generally cannot see UV light unless we've had some sort of damage to our eyeball and had our lens removed. Now, this is kind of cool because Monet, and people sometimes don't know this about Monet, but he had a cataract surgery. And for a long time, his vision was crazy. He couldn't see anything. And his art reflects that. So you can see through a progression of his art where he does some amazing paintings, and then it gets really crazy for a while. It looks like he's seen through some sort of circus lens. And then it goes back to normal again, except all of the blues and the whites now, he has sort of blended together to create this new kind of blue-white color in water lilies and that sort of thing. Now you can see all this at sciencehistory.org. An article written by Sam Keane on January 11th, 2022 shows this progression. And he has this progression in his paintings because he actually gained UV vision. After his cataract surgery, he could actually see UV light and started to paint what that looked like to him.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of amazing. Okay, so I want to jump to the last thing, which is tetrachromats, which are animals that actually have 4 cones, not just 3.
Okay.
And so get ready to really have your mind blown. They can actually, many of tetrachromats have a whole nother cone of colors that they can see that mix again with all of the colors that we can see. So they can't just see a few more colors than us. Tetrachromats. So remember we talked about that triangle of the 3 cones, and we can see kind of all of the blend of colors within that triangle. You add another cone on there, and you've basically got a pyramid of color that you can see.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they can see all of those range of colors. So if you're a tetrachromat, you can see probably hundreds, if not thousands, of more colors than we could see because of all of the different variations that those 4 colors or those 4 photoreceptors can make.
That's wild.
Right. And if you, the problem with this for us trying to think about what that would be like is that we can never imagine it, because you can't even make a device where it's like, okay, so let's like look through this device and that will show us these other colors, right? Because our brains cannot perceive them. They will just look like regular our colors to us. We can't see it no matter what. We can't imagine it. We know it's there, but we can't create some sort of thing to let us see it. Unless
so wild.
You were actually born a tetrachromat human, which does exist.
What?
Yeah,
so
very cool.
Ed, through his research, has brought up that they think that there's probably about 48,000 people in the UK alone that are tetrachromats. They only know of one for sure, and keeps her identity very secret, and just does very, she does some. She works with one scientist, and that's the only person who knows who she is. Yeah. But these people, these 48,000 people in the UK alone that are probably tetrachromats, don't know it because to them, it's totally normal. Right. Yeah. They don't realize that the rest of us can't see these colors. And they wouldn't know unless they took a special test that would say, okay, can you pick out, these things that are painted with different UV light or whatever it is that they can see?
Sure. I mean, to us,
you
it
just
might
don't
just
know.
Look like look at these 8 squares. And we're like, yeah, they're all blue. And you're like, no, these are all different shades of blue, or whatever,
Right.
And so it's like they just have such finer tuned vision, which is really cool.
That is so wild.
So that is my information for today. I hope I completely blew your minds. There's so much more in that book, and I'm not even like in through the 6th chapter yet. So just it's amazing.
Oh,
cool thing to check out.
That's so cool. Oh, definitely have to check it out. Thank you, Marika.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, let's go to a break, and when we come back, I've got one more little bit of science to have you think about.
Ooh.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This week, I wanted to take a slight detour to a strange corner of nature that we've been to before, but we haven't ventured into in a while. I want to talk about extinct species. So no, don't worry. We've got plenty of strange living species left as fodder for the show, but once in a while, it's fun to look to the past and realize that as strange as animals are today, the wide variety of options that have been tried and discarded by evolution throughout the years, has created a staggering and fascinating mismatch of, animals. So,
100%.
This week I've been thinking about the Dunkleosteus. I know I want to say right off the bat, the Dunkleosteus, and like all good scientific names, there is ongoing debate about how to pronounce this one. Some people prefer to say Dunkleosteus instead of Dunkleosteus, because I think Dunkleosteus sounds more sort of...
It's British, isn't it? That's how the British do it.
Well, yeah, or it's a sort of it sounds like some of the, maybe the dinosaurs and things that we know. But actually this species was named after a guy named David Dunkel. So
what a name.
In deference to the guy it was actually named after, I'm going to go with a pronunciation that actually sounds like his name. So when it comes to these creatures, well, first off, I need to confess something. I am not a big fan of swimming in lakes. I've gotten better about it over the years. And during the pandemic, we actually bought a cheap boat so we could get out of the house and enjoy many of the lakes that the area I live in is famous for. And being able to get out on the water and away from the weedy shore, boy, that sure helps, because I just can't stand the feeling of like plants on my legs when I'm swimming. I will admit, though,
fair.
Weird things
I'm
about
not
Kirk.
a fan. I'm not a fan of there being fish in the water I'm swimming in. Okay, so sure, it's rare, but once in a while, you do hear stories about like a big muskie deciding it wants to take a nibble on someone's toes and hands. And by nibble, I mean the kind of bites that require a trip to the urgent care for 13 stitches. If you are curious, a cursory Google image search will turn up lots of really gross photos and make you also not keen on swimming in lakes.
They will not be on our social media.
No, you have to look those up yourself. I don't think I'm being irrational. I just don't like being eaten, which I think is a very rational thing.
I mean, that's why I don't like pineapple.
Some people, yeah, exactly. the fruit that eats you back. Now, some people do love water, and they're simply drawn to it. They want to be in the ocean or lakes at all time. And look, that's fine for like those human merfolk. But I know the truth. There have always been things in the water willing to eat us, right? So I am thankful, ever so thankful, that Dunkleosteus is not currently one of the critters we need to worry about. In order for that to be an issue, we need a time machine to venture back to when North America was an ocean. They were around during the Devonian period, so about 382 to 358 million years ago. Quite a long time ago.
Just a tad.
So we are talking about a fish here, but it's probably important to note that we're talking about a very big fish. Interestingly, we don't know how big they were, at least not exactly. Much of a fish, like any fish, is made out of soft tissue, and that's going to rot away before it can be fossilized. Now, little tiny fish, I've got a little tiny fish fossil here in my house, they can fossilize just fine, as they can be rapidly covered over by, say, mud from a storm. But a big fish, like a really big soft fish, is going to be very difficult to turn into a fossil. Current best estimates for the size of this creature are between 10 and 33 feet in length. So, in other words, using our standard unit of measure here in the show, they may have been over 6 Rachels long.
I don't like that.
So, yeah, I don't either. That's real. I'm not swimming in that water. Now, size is not necessarily what makes something intimidating. There's some real gentle giants out there in the ocean.
The
But I
blue
think we
whale.
can be pretty I think we can be pretty sure that Dunkleosteus was not one of them. We only know they exist because their bodies didn't fossilize, but their heads certainly did. And they are they're terrifying.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I have a photo for both of you to look at.
Oh, God.
Okay.
So
Oh,
take a look.
Oh, this.
You can get a plushie Dunkleosteus.
Oh, you can get a plushie? That's amazing.
Yeah.
But if you look at the fossilized head
Oh,
there, can you describe for our audience who maybe can't look right now what you're seeing?
So
Where to begin, right?
Yeah.
Where do you begin? It reminds me a lot of like a turtle head.
Yes.
But fishized. I guess fishalized. Has a really like almost
like a turtle head put on a shark
nose.
Glue a turtle head to a shark.
Yeah.
With like a really flat, narrow nose. It looks armored almost. And
very armored, yeah.
I think I've seen one of these.
While you were swimming, or just
no, like a fossilized version of this.
Oh, good. Yes.
How come there hasn't been a horror movie about this yet?
That's a topic that comes up on this show a lot. There's a rich vein of horror movie material.
Are those teeth?
Yeah, what you're describing is dead on. Yeah, it's got these teeth that are
like front teeth. Like they look like almost shark teeth. I don't want to know.
They're not quite like the shark teeth. They're like these long,
like
they're
shape,
very long linear teeth. And that's why I think that whole idea of like the turtle head, like you were talking about, is very apt. That it's these sort of like ridges on the jaw. They are just amazing. Now, what you're looking at, if anyone looks online, or if you look on our Instagram or Facebook posts, what you'll see, what we're looking at a particular species with a species epithet is Terrielli, which is named after J. Terrielli, who discovered the fossil. And most of these are discovered in the Americas, a lot of them in North America. There's actually been some recent discoveries of partially preserved soft tissues, not of the whole animal, but like kind of getting a little bit more of an idea that suggests these animals looked more like sharks than anything else. And you had mentioned sharks in there. I think we kind of had presumed in the past they were more like sort of these slow moving kind of fish who had more these kind of, I don't know how to describe it, more like fish kind of flippers than shark, because sharks got a little bit different
really
sort of
thin,
vibe to
like
them.
rays, like really thin fins, like bluegill kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. We're thinking maybe they were more sort of shark-like. But again, we'll probably learn more as we find more of these more fossils that maybe were preserved better. We do now, newer research is thinking they probably were not ambush predators, but more like they were fast swimmers who are going after stuff. So let's talk about those jaws, though, because I realize that modern day shark mouths are scary. I mean, they're very scary, but this thing is just scary and destructive in a completely different way. And like I said, it does remind me a bit of what a snapping turtle head might look like if it was armored, had serrated edges along the beak there, and was from like a 30-foot long turtle. That's kind of the vibe we're going for here.
Yeah. The fact that they're like embedded in the jaw is what's getting me.
Yeah, I mean, and of course we don't know. Whenever you're looking at a fossil, I love those things. We talked about this on the show before, where there's like they'll take a modern animal and they'd be like, here's what, if paleontologists found a hippo, what the artist would assume a hippo looked like based just on the skull. And of course it's completely wrong, because like we don't have that soft tissue. And not to like dunk on, the paleo artists. They're doing the best in trying to make, and we've gotten better at figuring what these things might have looked like. But sometimes there's crazy soft tissue structures that you never would have imagined are there. So, But yeah, the look we're going for here is pretty wild. And those sort of serrated, armored teeth in the head are just wild. But the jaw itself has a really interesting mechanism for opening and closing that meant they could snap open and closed extremely fast. So researchers have done some math and whatnot, and they estimate that this animal could open its massive jaw in 20 milliseconds. Now, for reference, you guys can try this at home as well. Just go ahead and blink for me just once. Like blink. Okay, you just blinked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your eyes were closed for 150 milliseconds on your average little unconscious, blink that you do, right? So that was 150. They can open their jaw in 20 milliseconds, and they think that the entire process of like the bite, opening and closing, took 60 milliseconds.
Wow.
So these things could literally take an entire bite out of something in less than half of a blink of an eye, which is terrifying and amazing.
Okay, so why did they die out, right? That sounds like they were a pretty good predator.
Yeah, that's always the mystery of like, why does anything die out? Is it that the habitat changed and their food source went away? Is it that they evolved into something else? Is it that there was a more successful predator? Did sharks, for example, fill a similar niche and they just kind of were outcompeted? Clearly, they were around for a super long time. There are many different species that were out there and they evolved the different species. So this was a successful body plan for quite a long time. It could just be that over time, they eventually got outcompeted. You think about even a lot of the dinosaurs, super successful, but habitats changed. Other animals evolved different features. And, we still have birds today, which are still very successful. But a lot of those really big types of dinosaurs just, not around anymore, even though they were successful for a really long time. I will say one of the little fun things is that the biting force on that jaw was very high, perhaps as high as 1,664 pounds of biting force.
Whoa.
Which is, that's a lot. That's a lot. So that's kind of what I got for you. The Dunkleosteus. It's an amazing, strange, and powerful ocean predator from the Devonian.
Yeah.
Summer, I will remind you, is just around the corner. So just be thankful we aren't swimming with something that will cut you in two in less than a blink of an eye. And I will say most of my numbers and sources this week were from Wikipedia. So shout out to the hardworking editors over there.
Wow.
Well, if you did swim with one, at least if it bit you, you wouldn't really know it.
No, probably not. I think there's some thought that they had.
Yeah.
They had, when you see animals that can do that sort of explosive opening of the mouth, that can often be used for sucking, literally creating a vacuum to suck things in. So something may have been sucked in and then snapped in half, which would be pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
But luckily, we're not
just for everybody watching, though,
in the Devonian. So yeah,
I'm
everyone
glad that
watching.
We're not.
If you blink at just the right time, you wouldn't even see it happen. So I think
just
we're
be
good.
gone. Yeah.
Maybe that's why they haven't put it into a movie yet. Is you just blink and
It's
you're
too
like, what has
fast.
happened? You missed all the action.
I have a fun thing for
That
you to
must
go
be it.
do, Kirk. Have you heard of fish pedicures?
Oh,
I've
yes.
seen this done, and even some of the lakes around here. If you are in the water, the little tiny fish will come and kind of swim around you and stuff, and maybe they'll come up and take a little, kind of poke at you. It's fine. I don't need that done. I'm just, I'm not a huge fan of fish touching my feet. Nope. I'm out. It's not like a phobia. I if someone was going to pay for it, like, come on, I was going to do this fun thing, I'd be like, okay, fine, I'll do it. But like,
Right.
but also they're like in a clear lucite box. You can see them. We get tiger muskies here in Minnesota that are like, I don't know, they're like 4 feet long and have these mouths full of razor sharp teeth. And they live in the
I don't want
lakes
a pedicure
where I
from
sometimes go swimming. I'm not excited about that at all.
That's fair.
Oh, well, you've made it to the end of another episode. Thank you so much, everybody.
Marika, thank you for joining us this week.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
go
thank you.
check
It was
out,
a lot of fun.
Give us the name of your podcast one more time.
Yeah.
The Deal with Animals with Marika Bell.
Oh, everyone go check it
her
out.
out.
Thanks for being on, and we'll see everybody next week.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all of our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach out to us on social media by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can also check out our website, which is strangebynaturepodcast.com. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.